you think that 1 year of medical school entitles you to plough through my Emersonian mind?
Entitles me?
Yes.
Entitles me?
Yes.
Entitles me?
Yes.
What a batshit line of dialogue, mate. Hello and welcome to episode 34 of Movie On Up with your hosts, me, Alfie Walker.
And me, Adam Barlow. We're back.
Time's
We're back. Second time's the charm.
We're so in sync.
We've had some Wi-Fi issues, guys, so do bear with us this episode. We've switched over. We're now FaceTiming on our phones and doing this on our laptops at the same time. We're going through mobile data. We're going through Wi-Fi. We're trying all sorts of different things, all to give you the highest quality of content.
We are that dedicated to this show that we went, right, let's take a breather. I went and had sausage and mash. I think Adam had garlic bread, which also happened to be burnt. And now we're back.
It's actually like inedible. So I just had pasta, but
the thought was there. It was a nice thought.
Yeah.
What are we reviewing today, Adam? We've got three crazy films, I think. I was proud to say there. I think these have all left a big impact on us.
Yeah.
What are we reviewing?
I'm going to be reviewing Megalopolis, the latest film, and let's be honest, probably the last film from Francis Ford Coppola, director of the Godfather and Apocalypse Now, and other great films. And I'm also going to be talking about the OUTRun. And Alfie, you have seen
The Substance. I'm going to be talking about that. A crazy body horror, which I did not realise would be so out there. But also a bit silly and a bit fun. A lot of opinions on that. So, yeah, we're going to get into that as well.
Okay. Oh, it's going to be such a good episode. I'm really, really very excited to hear what you think of The Substance, and I can't wait to rip into the Megalopolis. But before we do all that, let's quickly touch base about Agatha All Along episode 3. Alfie, I know you've not quite watched it yet, but I saw it the day it came out. And yeah, it's sort of just more of the same. It actually kind of kicks off the plot more solidly, I think, than the first two episodes did. They've done their first trial on the Witches Road.
Go on, sing it, Adam. Go
on. Down the road. That kind of thing. You get the idea. But yeah, it kind of a bit of an easy trial, I think, that they start off with. They basically all drink wine that turns out to be poison, and then have to brew their own potion to get out of it, really. I'll leave it at that.
Is this when they become yassified with all the Botox in their face? I've seen this image floating
Oh, yes.
about.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Yeah, they do. Joe Locke doing God's work in that show, actually. He really, really offering a lot of class, a lot of funny dialogue. And, yeah, it's a very funny show that has sort of tinges of mystery to it. But I do think that plot-wise, it feels a little bit shallow at the moment, if I'm honest. But we will see. I've got my hopes relatively high for this show. I think it's surprised a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Like I said, I haven't caught episode 3 yet, but episode 4 is up tomorrow, so I imagine I'll watch episode 3 and 4 tomorrow. And I'm sure we'll mention it in passing next week on the podcast. But yeah, so far, from the 2 episodes I've seen, I think it's a nice bit of a change, bit of a different attitude towards these Marvel shows. And yeah, I'm quite excited to see where it goes, to be honest.
Absolutely. So with that out the way, we will obviously talk about it each week as another episode goes out. But for now, let's jump into the first of our film reviews for today. This is Megalopolis.
Adam, tell me about this film. I've seen a whole insane internet whirlwind of different takes, people loving it, most people saying this is insane, get this man, like I saw a tweet saying, oh damn, the dementia's hit him good, like it is insane to think that this man who made the Godfather trilogy, specifically Godfather 1 and 2 and Apocalypse Now, like that is some highly revered films, and he has created this. Yeah, go on, take it away, Adam. What has he created?
My God. I mean, where to even begin? I mean, the plot, okay? It's all basically a big metaphor and a big analogy for society, really. These characters aren't necessarily three-dimensional characters. They're more so representations of ideas and philosophies and theologies, right?
Oh,
So
already, mate, already.
already it's a bit wanky, isn't it? It's a bit pretentious. And that definitely is kind of my overall feelings towards this film. But it follows Caesar, played by Adam Driver, who I think we're both pretty big fans of. I do really rate Adam Driver. I think even in bad projects, like even in the last few Star Wars films, he was an excellent part of them.
Yeah, he's a gem in those Star Wars films. And what was the one with the dinosaurs he was in? Like, I think he's always got a bit of a redeeming factor to him, even if he's in a parting shit of movie, like potentially Megalopolis. But
yeah, he is sort of the light at the end of the tunnel in this, I think. But
Francis Ford Coppola, don't go towards the light.
He plays Caesar, an architect who is like a real sort of optimistic, intelligent, witty man who for some reason, and it doesn't really have any bearing on the plot, he can also control time. Okay, I don't know why.
I did not know that. What the hell?
It's in the trailers, but it's kind of like you sort of think, oh, maybe it's just a dream sequence. No, he actually can control time, but for no real gain. I don't think. Like he's sort of, so he's the head of this this housing and development sort of infrastructure team in New York, although it's called New Rome in this film. And the setting is basically this futuristic New York and Rome hybrid. So there's lots of gladiatorial locations and people are dressed up in very fancy, elegant clothing and such. Lots of references to both New York and Rome. It's a weird blend, but I do quite like the sort of look of it. So that kind of works for me. What doesn't work is the copious, unforgivable amount of crap CGI. It really does look dreadful. Okay, you know people like ripped into Quantum Mania last year for this. This is 5-10 times worse in my opinion.
No way.
It really is so bad. I don't want to take it out on the CGI lot because I know that these VFX teams have really tight deadlines, and I can only presume the issue here was that I can kind of imagine Francis Ford Coppola not being quite specific or descriptive enough about his requests, because obviously they need to kind of deliver what the filmmakers, ask of
their
them.
vision, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I can only presume that his sort of description of what he wanted wasn't very clear and wasn't precise, because what we end up with is just plastic, cheap, tacky looking locations and ideas and visuals. There's one point in this story, in this film, where it relays how a character has died, and it basically turns into a rip-off James Bond title sequence, where a dead body turns into lots of different people, and then they're crawling over each other, and then their hands interlock, and then it actually turns into water, and then it turns into pebbles and stones, and then the stones turn into like a face, and it's just all like it's AI generated. It looks
I was about to
weird,
say, it sounds like Secret Invasion credits. Like,
yeah,
it's horrid.
Yeah, totally. It's just a really bizarre. It kind of, in a weird way, it kind of looks interesting. Like you're sort of leaning in, but only because you're trying to work out what the hell you're actually looking at. So it's like, okay, it's a bit of a backhanded compliment, but yeah, the CGI is just really, really bad. And I think just visually, there's too much gold, there's too much yellow, too much orange. It's very, very samey. I'm looking at my Lego Infinity Gauntlet in front of me, and it's actually like if you zoomed in on a microscope and just watched that for 2 hours 20 minutes, that's what it is like. It's not necessarily that color on its own, not necessarily bad, but not when the whole thing is that color, right?
Yeah.
It just is all textureless, and it's just like a light being shone in your eyes. Anyway, back to the plot. Caesar wants to develop New Rome into a place called Megalopolis, which is basically a very futuristic, very high-tech city, but also that is bioorganic, that will grow with the people, and the buildings can move, and there'll be pavements that you don't even need to walk on. You just step on, and it's like a glowing version of those conveyor belts that you get in the underground. You know, where you step on it, you can just like, it zips you down. It's basically that. So there's a character in this played by Giancarlo Esposito, who's sort of the antagonist. I wouldn't really say he's that villainous, to be honest, but he basically is the mayor of New Rome, called Mayor Franklin Cicero, I think. And he is just a man of tradition. He doesn't want this to happen. He thinks that Megalopolis is a risk. And I forgot to mention that Caesar, what makes him so good as an architect is he's got control over not only time, but also he's discovered this material called, I think, megalon, hence the name Megalopolis. So, and it's basically, it's just this indescribable...
Isn't he a referring character in Transformers 1 that you're seeing next week?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a connected universe. But it reminded me of Vibranium from Black Panther and the Marvel Universe, to be honest. But it is just this sort of diamond-shaped reflective material that its origin is sort of explained, but it's a bit spoilerific, so I won't go into that. But yeah, he wants to build this this whole city out of that material, but it's actually only available to the super, super rich, and the average person doesn't really know what it is. They don't know if it's safe, but they kind of implement it and make prosthetic limbs out of it. They make buildings out of it, and they could do basically anything that the plot demands of it. It's just a complete...
It's the MacGuffin, right? It's adamantium, it's mithril. It's just one of those, it just exists for the plot.
Absolutely. That's pretty much it. So you've got this conflict between Caesar and Mayor Franklin Cicero, and beyond that you've basically got a load of side characters running around trying to one-up each other for wealth and status. So you've got Aubrey Plaza in there playing a character called Wow Platinum. Okay. I kid you not. That's her name. And she's a reporter, I think, but a financial reporter who for a brief time has a relationship with Caesar, but also then goes and has a relationship with, I think, I'm just trying to get my head around the family tree, with I think Caesar's grandfather, I think, or dad. I've lost track of who it is, but he's played by John Voight, who plays, is it Emperor Hamilton Crassus, I think, or Crassus? I don't know. He's in it, and he has some of the worst scenes, mate. Yeah, it's all the names are really irritating. I get that it's meant to evoke, this old, epic scale, adventure in a new futuristic but Rome hybrid. And it's kind of like, you can't have your cake and eat it. Do you know what I mean? Like, just pick one. So yeah, the names are annoying. Dustin Hoffman's in there, Shia LaBeouf's in there, who is just so
insufferable,
damn
right?
irritating.
I've heard he is potentially the absolute worst character in that film. Yeah.
Mark Kermode said that it's the most slappable role he's ever played, and that's saying something, because I don't think he's a massively popular actor. Plus, he's got all the allegations against him, so it's a miracle he's even
did he cast? Yeah, literally, why on earth has he been cast in this film? Like,
God knows. But he's in it, and he does drag at one point, which I just thought was quite distasteful. That's really, really bad. And in the same scene, they're in this big sort of gladiator arena, and they're doing bids to the bank, I think, or to support this young girl played by Grace VanderWaal, whose name is Vesta Sweetwater. And she claims to be,
I think, wanky film I've ever had in my life.
Yeah,
mate.
It just carries on going. I mean, this girl is claiming to be 16, and she sings a song it's not a bad song, but it's just out of nowhere, like a proper ballad sort of pop song about her virginity and how she's pure and God has protected her, and everyone should give her money to, I think, marry her. But if I'm honest, I switched off at this point, and I was just like, what on earth's going on? So she's in this and she sings a song, and then this is mild spoilers, but it's not really that relevant to the plot, which is really the case for about 90% of the scenes. She's halfway through, Shia LaBeouf's character, who is the cousin of Adam Driver's character, he forces the guys who are televising this event, this big, so I guess it's like a big luncheon sort of fundraiser type event, right? They give them a USB, which now I think about it, why are they USBs if this place is supposed to be so futuristic? I don't know. They put a USB in and they start broadcasting a sex tape of Caesar and Vesta, who is not only meant to be, you know, this virgin character who everyone's giving billions of pounds for, but she's also meant to be, you know, underage. So it's like this like launches a scandal, and then both of them get disgraced. But then they finally, like about 10 minutes later, someone works out that it's a fake footage and it's been doctored and stuff. And then wildly, I burst out laughing at this. They do a transition where Vesta Sweetwater's rebranded herself like Jojo Siwa, and she's now emo, and she's got black eyeliner on, and she's wearing all black where she was wearing all white, and she just completely like spiked her hair up. And then she goes like, "There goes the dream that you had for me. I guess I'm burning it down." Like, okay, and then that's it. Like, they don't play any more of the song. There's a 3-minute version on Spotify, but they only used about 20 seconds of it. The best I can describe it, it's like, you know, in Austin Powers where they have those stupid transitions where he's like down, bow, bow, and like humping the camera and stuff. It's like that out of nowhere. It's just ridiculous. And then, what have I not mentioned yet? Lawrence Fishburne's in this, basically playing the exact same character that he does in The Matrix.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew that was what you were going to say.
He adds a bit of gravitas, but I mean, he has the tough job of narrating this and actually having to say some of the most outlandish, lofty quotes I've ever heard. And every now and then it sort of chapters the story, I suppose, by flashing up these sort of cards that the audience has to read, but also Lawrence Fishburne reads it out, and it's written like Roman writing on the side of a white stone column, right? So it will be like, when does a society fall? It's not when the buildings crumble, it's when the people give up on it. And it's like the most silly, like, it's kind of, it is intelligent at points. Like, I don't knock that. Like, the things it says, I don't disagree with. I think it is very intellectual. And you know, don't get me wrong, I think people that have enjoyed this have praised how observational it is, and how, you know, it really is very good at assessing the state of modern civilization and likening the age of the internet and the age of technology to the fall of Rome, and saying that, oh yeah, in a few years' time, you know, New York will fall just as Rome did before it. And you know, it is kind of good, kind of. It has very, very slight glimmers of good ideas. Like, this could be, even with the setting, and even if the CGI had been tightened up, and with some of the acting just even, you know, slightly better, it could have been a decent film. But I really don't think it comes together well in the end at all. I just think that every single aspect of it just really falls on its arse. I mean, firstly, I mean, if anyone here is listening to this episode, firstly, thank you if you've come from the TikTok. It's done incredibly well. I basically reenacted some of the scenes and some of the most baffling quotes. And that is, you know, it's not exaggerated at all. That is what, like, there's a line in here where Aubrey Plaza has to go like, "Oh my God, you're so anal, but I'm so oral," as like a chat-up line. And you're just like, what? And then in the last sort of 20 minutes, John Voight's character is dressed up as Robin Hood, and I think sedated or tied down to a bed. And he has this huge, you know, he's pitching a tent. Let's put it that way. And it's massive, to be fair to him. And it's like, "Hey, look at this boner I got." And at this point, I have my head in my hands. And everyone it was a like packed out screening, not a huge screening room, but it was full. Okay. And you could just tell that everyone was leaning back, had their head in their hands, like, what is just
this? Like,
wanting to either walk out or just hit themselves in the face. And then he removes the covers. He's like, "You want to see?" And then he reveals that he's got a bow and arrow, and then like fights off the people in the room. It's completely just, it feels a bit like a pervy film made by an old man who's past his best. And I think there's so many things in here that's problematic. The casting is one thing, but just the lines of dialogue are weirdly sexual but predatorial and weird. And I think it's like, yeah, it's like if you've let your granddad have a rant about something, but then gave him $120 million. And I've not even got onto that. The budget of this film, where did it go? I mean, obviously on the cast, but it certainly didn't go to the VFX team. $120 million that, bless him, Francis Ford Coppola raised himself. He sold off part of his wine business, I think, to afford
didn't
it.
he sell off one of his wineries or something?
Oh, God, I just... You know what made me most annoyed when I walked out of this film? It's not the dialogue, it's not the effects, it's not any of the wasted potential. It's just the fact that it cost £120 million. Even the runtime is one thing, 2 hours 20, but for this to have cost $120 million is just incredible. It's staggering, and it made me angry. I was like, you know what difference this could have made if he just donated this to charity. Like, think of the amount of people. I don't want to get you could say this about any film really, but it just really made me think, like, God, we could have done without this. No one needs this film. Mark Kermode said this is like the film version of Toothache.
Yeah, the cinematic equivalent of a toothache, which is a phenomenal quote.
God, mate, I mean, people will obviously ask, is it so bad it's good? For me, I think I was more angry when I came out of it. And I've sort of softened on it a bit now, but I still don't think it's a good film. You can make an argument that it is, but I don't agree. I think there's funny bits in it. It's a hilarious film. If you had a few pints with mates, you'd have an absolutely brilliant night. So, I mean, hey, there's that. That's the redeeming factor, I would say. But, my God, $120 million can be spent so much better than this.
I think that's a pretty good way to end that one, mate. The way that when you were explaining it, you were just like, and then this, and it just got wilder and wilder and wilder.
There's stuff I've not even mentioned, but I can't be bothered.
Wild.
That'll do.
So, from one batshit film to another. Now I'm going to be talking about The Substance.
Okay.
Yeah, so this definitely isn't one that Adam would plan to go see. And after watching it, I think that's a very good choice. For a bit of context for anyone who doesn't know, Adam... Let's just say Cocaine Bear was more than enough gore for Adam. And I mean, it does have a fair bit of gore in, but yeah, this is... Have you seen The Fly by David Cronenberg, Adam?
With Jeff Goldblum, I haven't. But coincidentally, I was watching clips of it last month just because I was looking at Jeff Goldblum's filmography. And I was watching it, I was like, man, I know this is one of his most definitive roles, but I just can't bring myself to watch it because I know I'd just be sick.
So yeah, big David Cronenberg energy, a bit David Lynchy as well, just a real melting pot of ideas and that. But yeah, The Substance, right? So kind of a satirical body horror, super pulpy and over stylized, and it is a sci-fi. It's clearly set in a sort of in our world, but it's clearly not meant to be in reality with the way that stuff happens. And this is it's a hard 18, let's say that. It is sex, nudity and gore to the fullest extreme you can go. I'll paint the picture a little bit. So essentially, you've got Demi Moore playing Elizabeth Sparkle, who is essentially a bit of a washed up actor. She's got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Quite poignant sort of imagery around the Hollywood Walk of Fame at the beginning and then mirroring it at the end. And she is a bit washed up, and essentially she is hosting in her she's in her 50s. And she's starting to feel her age a little bit. And then she has her manager, played by Dennis Quaid, also named Harvey in the film. And I feel like that's probably a bit of a link to You Should Not Be Named, for sure. And it's in the setup of the film. Basically, she's cast off from her show. She runs a morning show doing dancing and fitness. And she's cast off for someone new. And she comes across through a various way through a thing called The Substance, a drug that you take once. It comes with a few caveats, like certain pickups we have to do. and she chooses to inject herself with the substance, and this creates basically another version of her, and this one's called Sue, and it's her younger self basically. And so she's got this double life where 7 days a week she is Sue, and the other 7 days a week she is Elizabeth Sparkle. And yeah, events ensue from there, and I won't spoil what happens, but it's very much a modern day take on the portrait of Dorian Gray. So if you know anything about that, you can imagine that when, say, one version does something a little too much, it seriously affects the other version, and the body horror ensues from there. Basically, it is revolting. It is over the top, insanely. It's probably the most like body horror I've seen in a film, but it does take it with that sort of over stylized sort of tone and portraying it, so you can clearly tell it's not real. There's sort of obviously body horror like from the Saw franchise where it sort of dabbles in realism, but this is so clearly pulpy and over stylized and a bit campy, with all this imagery and sort of sound effects, and visually it's showing that this is not real in the real world. And it's quite a film, Adam. You would struggle with this one, I think. First thing I'll say is that I don't think it needs to be 2 hours and 20 minutes. I was sat there, and there's certain dips in it where it's not giving me anything more. It sort of establishes the premise, and then you're waiting for it to take it somewhere else, and it didn't really go anywhere with it until the last sort of half an hour. So there is a little bit of a dip where you're sort of in repetitive territory and you're like, where's this going? The first half is slightly more grounded. The concept off the bat is insane, and the body horror goes from 0 to 10 in the first sort of, I don't know, maybe on the 20th minute. You have a woman crawling out of a woman via her spine. So it's...
We've all been there.
It's a classic hangover, isn't it? But yeah, I won't spoil where it goes, because I think people might want to watch this, because I didn't expect it to go where it went at the end. I had predicted that it would follow the Dorian Gray story quite similarly, where okay, the one version is degrading significantly and it's turning into a monster, but it does go somewhere else with it, somewhere fun. I was laughing so much in this film. I thought it was hilarious, but no one else in that cinema was. I was sat there.
I had the exact same experience with Megalopolis. There's a moment where there's genuinely one of the like biggest jump scares I think I've seen in years in Megalopolis, and you just do not expect it, because it's the one scary scene. It just happens. You're like, oh my god, wasn't expecting that. And I yelped, like full body jolted, and went like, ah! And then laughed my head off. Everyone was like looking at me. It was so embarrassing. But I feel your pain, man. I think we've had a week to remember at the cinema.
I was sat at the back of this View cinema, back of the screening room, and I was at the very back row because I wanted to be near the stairs. Because I won't lie, I went to the cinema and I wasn't feeling great. I was feeling a little bit ill, and my stomach wasn't there. And I was like, should I go see this film? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to see it. I want to see this one more than I want to see Megalopolis. So I went there as well. No, I'll book a seat near the stairs. So if I've got to leave, I can get out easily. I didn't. It didn't affect me that much at all because it was so surreal. It wasn't very real. It sort of, it lent into that fakeness. But my God, it was just, it happens and then more stuff happens and it is gross and it's funny. I thought it was silly and funny, and I've seen people online saying like, this is so absurd and revolting, and it is, but I think people need to take it with a bit of levity. It's funny. It's funny. It's silly. It's over the top. There is clearly a message in here about what people will do to get to a beauty standard, and once they're at that standard, how much they regret it. But like, I thought there'd be more of a meaning to it. That message is clear from the first 5 minutes. Like, not even that, potentially. Like, the first couple of minutes, you can guess. Okay,
it's quite clear in the trailer, I would say.
Exactly.
Get it, yeah.
But I thought there might have been more of a message, but no, it kind of becomes a bit of a parody of itself. It gives you this idea, and you're like, perfect. Where are you going with it? And it just goes. It sticks with the purpose and just takes it to 100. It felt like maybe it was a short film, and someone picked it up and said, "You can make a full movie of this." That's what it felt like. But yeah, I will say I recommend it if you're good with body horror. If you can manage a film like The Fly, the Jeff Goldblum like 1980s film, or you can manage a Saw film. I think you could manage this all right. The final scene. Have you seen Kingsman? The first Kingsman film, Adam?
Yeah.
So at the end where all their heads explode and there's just like
confetti or something.
Yeah, so the final scene gives that vibe. Like it's so over the top, and the music is swelling, and yeah. It's just one of those things that I cannot explain to you. You need to just see it and take it in, and it's really quite something. But yeah, Demi Moore as Elizabeth Sparkle, great. As she descends into chaos, she's really great. You've got Margaret Qualley as Sue. She was in Poor Things. She played the Doctor's other sort of Frankenstein once Emily Stone's character ran away.
Yes, of course.
She plays Sue in this.
She was also in Kinds of Kindness as well.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So no, she is great in this. Really great. And then Dennis Quaid plays Harvey, and yeah, the most obnoxious, over the top, like revolting studio exec you've ever seen. You're introduced to him with him going for a piss at a urinal, and the camera is in his face. It's sort of like a 0.5 image where you've got the camera on his nose and he's snotting and breathing, and then the next scene is a close-up of him eating shrimp in a restaurant, and the food is all over him, and he's probably more revolting than the creature at the end of this film. Let me tell you that. But they paint him in a vile light. Lesson. Yeah, like they paint him so viscerally and horrid. But it's such a small cast. It really is just those three, other than a couple here and there. But yeah, it's something special. It's worth seeing. I would just say it's a tiny bit too long, in my opinion.
So we've spoken about Megalopolis, and we've spoken about The Substance. Now, a bit of a gear shift, I think, but we're going to talk about The Outrun, which is a film that has sort of big indie vibes. It's a drama. It's about 2 hours long. A really great length. It's a film, actually, I would have loved to have spent more time with this character, with this story.
What a change.
Wraps up.
Yeah, what a change, because those previous two films there, we've both said too long. Like, what's going on there? It's just too long. But that's nice to hear that this is a film that left you wanting more.
Yeah. I just felt it to be a weirdly comforting film to watch, and I'm really excited to... I mean, hopefully, if I get time, I'll see it again in the cinema, because I thought it was a lovely, lovely film. But anyway, I'll get into it. So it stars Saoirse Ronan, which is an actress who, as I was watching it, I was like, I've seen you in a few things. Like, I've seen you in Little Women, and like the odd sort of appearance on chat shows or a few other films. But I actually was like, I haven't watched you as much as I should have, because she is one of the best working actresses today, I've got to say. She does an absolutely phenomenal job in this film. It's basically a one-woman. She's the lead. There's side characters that come and go. There's her parents, there's her boyfriend, and members of the village and the people around. But beyond that, it's really just Saoirse Ronan in almost every scene. And it follows this girl called Nora over the space of, I'd say, maybe 10, 15 years. And basically, she goes to uni in London and goes out partying, has some really wild nights, and basically falls into alcoholism and becomes a real heavy drinker. And she gets obsessed with it and gets violent when she's drunk and sort of fights friends and injures people, makes a mess of the house. and really just, causes issues for her family and for her friends at uni and stuff. And it's a real, quite a challenging, tough thing to watch. But the story actually has a more optimistic approach to it. So she moves back home. She's Scottish and she's from the Orkney Islands, which is a really, really remote group of islands off the coast of northern Scotland. And they're tiny islands with 60 people living on it, really small communities on those islands. So she goes back there to help with her dad's, as it's like lambing season, I think, at the start of the film. So she goes back and kind of reconnects with her roots, visits her mum who has become very devoutly Christian. And I should mention that the parents have split up, so they live separately, and the dad has, I think, bipolar, I think is what it's diagnosed as in the film. And it has a few flashbacks to him just having these manic episodes when she was a girl, and it's kind of implied that there's some generational trauma there, and it's affected the mum because she's had to go off and live on her own, but she found God to sort of deal with it. It kind of shows the dad as an unpredictable but sympathetic character who is really just, got depression, and some days he just can't even talk or move. He's just bedbound for some of this film. And then you've got the daughter, obviously, who was turned to alcohol and to substance to try and self-medicate, right? So it deals with some very dark, heavy topics. But Saoirse Ronan has this just incredible light in her eyes, and she goes to Alcoholics Anonymous and other forms of rehab, and the film basically plots her progression of overcoming this addiction, right? So it's a very simple premise, I would say, but as I say, it deals with some really important topics very, very sincerely and very very thoughtfully, I would say. It feels like a gentle, kind film that balances perfectly those feelings of fear and despair with feelings of real hope and happiness, and balances that idea of, especially like we've both just finished uni, we've spent a lot of time drinking there, you kind of can relate partially to it, or you might know someone that has been through this or is going through this, and it really lets you kind of project someone or yourself onto this character, and it is, you so easily feel sympathy for this girl who is intelligent. I think she's doing a master's in biology in the film, but she just keeps sort of stumbling and occasionally, breaking the days of sobriety, and she'll like just go get wildly drunk by accident and then just break down in her mum's arms. And I thought there are several moments in this film, I would say three or four times, where I was properly had tears welling up, and I was totally moved and totally awestruck by this film. I gave it 5 stars on Letterboxd the second I left the cinema, and the way that this film ends is one of the best endings, I think, of a film in 2024 for me, emotionally, apart from possibly The Iron Claw, which also had a really impactful ending. But if you've seen the finale of that film, then you'll know that it's at that sort of similar level. Music's a huge part of this film as well. She oftentimes is wearing headphones when she's helping out on the farm, listening to some like dubstep, like drum and bass stuff. But it calms the sound and the roar of the waves of these islands, because the weather is atrocious at many points in the film, and it uses this spectacle of nature, of the waves and the wind and the stretching fields on these islands, and just really, it's a kind of blatant, like, look how alone she is on this island, and yet she feels safer there than she did in the hustle bustle of nightclubbing in London. And I just thought that was such an obvious but really profound contrast that I thought just worked so well. It's actually, I checked this morning, it is based on a memoir from 2016 written by Amy Liptrot, who I think also wrote a piece in The Guardian about it, how it felt for her story to be relayed on the screen. And it's directed by a German director called Nora Fingschied. Thingscheid. I'm not sure how you pronounce her last name, but she does an excellent job. And as I say, the conclusion, the sort of final 5-10 minutes of this film, I was just like properly letting it wash over me. I was like, that is fantastic. It's kind of like, it's nothing groundbreaking, don't get me wrong, but it really just felt therapeutic and like such a breath of fresh air and, you know, a sigh of relief at the same time. It was, yeah, it felt like you'd been put through the mud for an hour and 50 and you could finally sort of take a breath and be like, okay, everything's going to be all right, you know. And I just thought it was such a roller coaster, and it's really, really well done.
That's really interesting. It's nice when you go into a film with kind of no expectations, and like I said, I've not even heard of it, and I don't think you had much fanfare around it, and I still haven't seen much about it, but it's nice that you've gone in and been pleasantly surprised. I kind of, like I said, I haven't seen it, but I'd almost compare it to potentially like After Sun in a way, where it's kind of quite melancholic and a bit meandering almost, maybe, but like in a great way, in a way that it's just something you watch and take in and appreciate.
You know what, good point about After Sun. It has got that sort of vibe where it distracts you, and these scenes of flashbacks where she's obviously drunk, there's thumping music and really blinding lights and stuff. It is very reminiscent of After Sun in the way that it makes you feel like you're watching someone's memories played out on screen, but they're hazy and they're confusing and they're not quite there. So in that respect, there's also a bit of All of Us Strangers thrown in here. And I would say a bit of Banshees of Inisherin as well. I know it's a Scottish setting, but with that scenery and how important that location is in that film, equally as important in this.
Just character study, like almost like all those films you've listed there, Banshees and All of Us Strangers and After Sun, they just like focus on one or two characters, don't they, I guess? And it's kind of just something that you take in, and like you said, you just breathe in and appreciate. But when you came out, you messaged me straight away, didn't you, and said how great the film was. So I mean,
I could sing its praises for a lot longer than this, but it was also the juxtaposition of having about half an hour to get pizza and then go to watch Megalopolis, and then I left that bewildered. So I mean, what a wild Saturday night that was. But yeah, if you've got the time to go and seek out the Outrun, I don't know how many screenings it's getting. You weren't aware of it. I don't know how well marketed it's been, but it might be one of those things that you come across on, I don't know, on Netflix in sort of 6 months' time, and you're like, oh, it's got Saoirse Ronan in. She's got dyed hair like she did in Lady Bird. Let me put it on, you know. And
then pleasantly surprised.
I really thought it was very, very enjoyable, and probably in my top 3 films of the year so far.
So we've spoken about 3 quite impactful films there. We've had The Substance for the body horror, and then we had The Outrun that Adam said was quite melancholic and impactful on him, and obviously Megalopolis with all the fanfare surrounding that. Michael Caine, what are 3 films that are impactful to you and have had an impact on you?
Well, for me, hello everybody, it's me, Michael Caine. For me, I always return to 3 very specific films. And those are some films that I either starred in, or I'm very fond of. So,
Fondant.
Chocolate fondue. The first film is Cars 2, for obvious reasons. I'm not even going to explain that one, because, you know, some of you have got to do some bloody work on your own. I'm not here to explain everything. The second film that I always revisit is Jaws 3. I can't remember if I'm in that one or if it's Jaws 4, but it's Jaws 3 for the purpose of this bit that I'm doing here now. And then the final film that I like to rewatch is my favourite of the Star Wars movies. Star Wars: The Phantom Menace.
Were you in that one, Michael?
Yeah, if you look really closely, I'm actually in the background of one of the cantina seats on Mos Eisley.
Wow, I didn't know you were in a Star Wars. That's crazy.
I play one of those characters called a glup shitto, I think it is that you call it.
Are you going to read us a page from your memoir today, Michael?
I suppose I will, as I've got it here, and I don't carry this book around for fun. Right. What makes my heart sing is not besting another actor, but besting myself. The roles of which I am proudest are the ones that have asked the most of me. Sorry. That have been the furthest away from me, but that I feel I have made the most real. The parts where I feel I have truly managed to make myself disappear and summon up someone else. Frank, the disillusioned alcoholic university professor in educating Rita. Dr. Large, the rule-stretching gynecologist addicted to ether in the cider house rules. Thomas Fowler, the foreign correspondent in the Quiet American. Alfred Pennyworth in Chris Nolan's Batman movies. Race, the seedy, angry and desperate angel in Little Voice. Harry Brown, the pensioner who loses the rag and goes on a rampage in Harry Brown. Fred Bollinger, the fading retired composer in Youth, and of course, Alfie. And I'm not talking about you, although I'd love to play you in a biopic, Alfie. I think we've got a very similar vibe.
I noticed as many of those great roles there. I noticed that Finn McMissile wasn't on that list there. Are you a big fan of method acting? Or
Well, for Finn McMissile, what I did was I got my hands strapped behind my back, and for a week I actually just went round on a skateboard on my front, and I went to interviews, and I did screen talks with Empire Magazine and other reputable sources, and they all asked me questions, and I said, sorry, but have you ever seen not Christopher Nolan, the other one, that Batman actor? Have you ever seen him not doing anything at this outlandish? Because look, I'm just doing that, and I'm waffling now, but my point is, I was a car for 8 years of my life. Enough said. Enough said, really. I got an MOT, and they said that my voice box was broken, and I said, cheeky sod. And I drank a gallon of petrol right there in front of him.
Thank you for listening today, and we hope those 3 films. I think there's a film for everyone there. I must say, there's a real range there. We went from absurdist to body horror to poignant. So yeah, I think there's a film there for everyone. If you wanted to email in and let us know your opinions on any films you've seen, ask us some questions, give us some topics, anything like that, you can email in hello@movieonup.com.
Or you can go to our social media pages, TikTok and Instagram. They are both at @movieonup.
Hopefully Adam will be pumping out loads more hilarious TikToks. Yeah. Because my goodness, mate, we've got like 5k views on that one.
So, I mean, if we have anything less than 5k views on this podcast this week, I'm afraid I'm going to be angry. No.
Yeah. Episode 34 is actually the final episode of Movie On. Thank you for...
Oh, before we finish, actually, I don't know if you saw this, but in between us attempting to record this about 2 hours ago and then having to break, Total Film has announced that the next issue coming out on the 10th of October will be their last print issue. And I thought that's so upsetting. Like, what a bummer.
Yeah, right.
I mean, for those that are outside the UK, Total Film is essentially sort of the main rival to Empire Magazine, which I'll be honest, I read Empire Magazine.
It's your fault, then.
Gentle my fart. Yeah.
Should be buying Total Film, shouldn't you?
But I'm pretty sure the first film magazine I got, this really sounds like I'm trying to pander now. Guys, I swear, the first one I got was Total Film, but I genuinely think it was. It was around the time of The Last Jedi, actually. I remember on the way to get snacks, we saw a magazine that had Kylo Ren on, and they had posters in it that I think might have been 3D or like glow in the dark or something, and they had a Kylo Ren one and a Rey one, and I grabbed the Kylo Ren edition of Total Film magazine. So there we go. An OG.
Sad to see an industry dying, isn't it? One that we just did a whole degree in.
Yeah. We're in the mud. We really are.
And on that somber note,
BBC, ITV, Sky, if you're listening, listen, guys, we'd love a job.
Yeah, we're both still struggling here, and we've been out of uni for about 4 months now. So
Yeah, we're just bettering ourselves. We're finding ourselves in Thailand. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to Moving Up Podcast. This has been episode 34.
if we don't see you through the week, Adam,
I'll see you through the window, Alfie.